Hello, everyone, and welcome to Live Now on Cars and Bids. I'm Kennan. That's Filippo.
Yeah.
And today we're watching something very special. This 2003 M5 that I talked about last week, this Dynan S3, is currently closing on Cars and Bids, and it has been a battle, an absolute battle. It's currently at 115,500. There are two bidders that have been going back and forth for...
With a third intermixed here and there.
With a third intermix here and there, how far into overtime are we with this particular
I'll tell you this. We're at the close of the 6 additional auctions have closed after this one. Already closed.
Oh my God.
We're about to pass the 7th.
That is crazy. So far there are 145 bids. How many comments are on this thing?
298.
298.
It's just such a long battle, and it is moving.
It is moving. It is moving. This is by far the most expensive E39 M5 we've ever sold, which makes sense as it's incredibly special, as I said last week. And I've already drafted my message to congratulate whoever wins. I thought I was going to have to post it 30 minutes ago, but here we are. We're still going.
42 minutes ago, the bid was at $56,000.
Yeah, and this just goes to show, like, a lot of the time we tell sellers, like, the action happens at the end.
Yep.
This is proof. Like, a lot of the time it does. And here we go. Is this going to be it? Oh, 116. Gosh.
Just keeps on going. All right. While this continues, should we talk about some of the cars that are ending next week?
Yes, we will circle. We will
as it
circle
were.
back to this, but let's talk about some of the cars next week. Let's start with one of yours.
Oh, please do. All right. This is a Volvo V60 Polestar, and it is beautiful.
It is
And it's in a beautiful color, Rebel Blue.
Rebel Blue.
As they all should be, frankly. And this is in 2060 for the 2017 model year, there was an update to the Polestar that then used a 2-liter turbocharged and supercharged 4-cylinder instead of the V6. It's considered a little bit, instead of the inline 6? It's an inline 6. It doesn't have quite the same level of desirability, but I think it should. And I think it's such a cool car, right? Station wagon. It still has 362 horsepower, 347 pound-feet of torque, 8-speed auto. And I think it's one of the best looking station wagons. And I just love the sporty version of any station wagon. In the right color. This one's relatively low miles, 65,000 miles. We've sold a bunch that have incredibly high miles. This one's one owner from new.
Why don't you buy
this?
this?
No reserve.
It's no reserve. You can bid on this one. Do it again.
I really wish I were that cool.
You can be.
I just wish that I were cool enough to own a Rebel Blue V60 Polestar, and I'm not. I strongly considered buying a non-Polestar V60, which, by the way, are notably cheaper than the Polestar versions for good reason, but couldn't quite pull the trigger. But I dream of one day being cool enough to own this car.
No, it is really cool. It's like, if you're looking for like the V60, I mean, this is it.
Yeah.
And I've always loved Rebel Blue. I think it is the color on any Polestar vehicle.
Yep.
I think they just look right in it. And yeah, we love wagons on Cars and Bids. We sell tons and tons of them.
And it's no reserve.
And it's no reserve, so someone will take it home.
Olin shocks, Brembo brakes. What more do you need?
Nice and practical. A great Filippo choice. Cool, but practical. I'm just going to talk about something cool now.
No, first, I also want to say, it also has the very important technology package. So adaptive cruise control. It actually has everything that one would want, and I'm disappointed in myself for not being cool enough to bid.
Speaking of cool,
yeah.
We're going to talk about my next race. So this is a 1996 Ferrari F355 Spider. Easily one of the most beautiful standard production Ferraris of all time. This one is Rosso Corsa. I happen to be 100% sure of that. And it's lovely. So Rosso Corsa over beige. It's not heavily modified. It doesn't really have a whole lot of mods other than the exhaust to give it just a little bit of extra fruitiness, which sounds lovely. And yeah, it's a 355. Now this one does have some miles on it, 32.9, which isn't crazy, but for 355, that's reasonable. This one's definitely more of a driver. It doesn't have any service documentation that comes with it, which is unfortunate. But nonetheless, it's like, it's still, I'm the one who edited this listing, and just every time, even though I sold mine long ago, and there was a lot of pain that was associated with my car, I still look at it and I go, damn, that's a great looking car.
Truly gorgeous car.
And it is, and it's exactly what you like. It being in 96, the F1 transmission came out in 1998, so all pre-1998 355s are manual transmissions. It's actually very common with 6-speed manuals. 2/3 of 355 production were 6 speeds. But it's kind of exactly what you want. You can go click clack away in your 355. And this one, being a 96, is also the Multitronic 5.2 car, which got a slightly different engine. They revised the engine management software and it went down to 1 MAF as opposed to 2. But it also got a little bit I think it got a little bit more reliable. The ECUs moved inside of the car, whereas on my car they were here and the headers are there.
So 1996 a better year.
Yeah, some would say a little better year. The 95s make 5 more horsepower. Who really cares? But anytime a 355 comes on the site, I'm just like, it makes me miss the good times with mine, for sure.
Yeah, and it is truly a gorgeous car.
It is indeed. It is indeed. So speaking of icons, we'll switch back to one of yours.
Please.
Now, speaking of expensive vehicles, the Bronco 2 doesn't seem like an expensive vehicle, but explain why this particular one.
All right. First, I want to give the stats, and then I will reveal the secret of it.
Okay.
This is 1989 Ford Bronco 2.
Yep.
Famously the most desirable of the Broncos, or something like that.
Dripping with sarcasm.
Yeah, not as beloved as they maybe should be. 2.9 liter V6. It's a 5-speed manual, which is cool, and it is 4-wheel drive, which not all were.
Okay.
Mostly California owned. This one is special because in 2005, somebody, no, not the current owner, spent $111,000 doing a full extensive refurbishment.
Oh my God. Look at the line items. It just goes on and on and on and on. Oh my God. That is brutal.
Yep. By the way, that is about $170,000 in today's money. That was spent.
Wow.
So somebody really, really wanted it to be perfected. Unfortunately, Ford failed to do that when it left the factory, but the owner did it at Hot Rods and Custom Stuff in
Escondido, California.
And now it's for sale on our site. It also has a great paint job. I love that somebody spent that money doing it. It looks, based on the records, like it had 14,000 miles. We suspect that it now has 106,000. We think that the 5-digit odor rolled over.
This was just someone who was rich and eccentric.
They loved the Bronco 2, and they were like, this is a clean one. I'm going to make it perfect, and then I'm going to paint it this great color scheme. And now it's for sale on Cars and Bids. So you can benefit from the equivalent of $170,000 of refurbishment work on a Ford Bronco 2 and have the best ever Ford Bronco 2.
This absolves me of the craziness people think I have around my E39 M5. That is nuts. That is crazy, but I love when people go absolutely
it is
deep in the paint.
But absolutely awesome it is.
Indeed. Well, speaking of off-roaders, we'll shift to one that I recently reviewed. So this is a 1991 Defender 130, but critically it has a 6.2 liter LS3 V8 swap, which is wild. Now I drove this recently on the Cars and Bids channel, and it was insane. It was so much fun. You and I have spent a lot of time in Doug's Defender.
Yep.
A ponderous vehicle that's a lot of fun. Not a very agricultural vehicle, but to give it 450-ish horsepower is wild. But it was a beautiful build. Like this thing it's clear the owner spared no expense with it. All the upgrades were, obviously it has like the normal stuff like a lift, and like a winch, but it had some kind of unusual stuff. I think the top is from a Defender 90, and then like the bed is I think from a 70 series. There's some kind of unusual stuff. Yeah, I mean it's nice inside, and like it was.
Sounds like a dream.
Good, yeah. It's a clear no expense.
What does the interior look like?
The interior.
So they're using the LR3 interior or the later UK Defender interior.
Exactly.
And they shifted it to left-hand drive.
Yes, left-hand drive conversion was done on this one, which makes it even more usable. I mean, it was just a hoot. Like, I'll be honest, every time I laid into it and went, why? The V8 came alive. It was just like, it was so fun.
Does the back just squat down?
No, the whole car jumped to the left because just the torque and those ridiculously large, off-road tires. Like, it was just fun. The car just has such a sense of humor, and I was thrilled to get to drive it for a little bit. But critically, the seller's really confident, offering it no reserve, which I mentioned a bunch of the video. But it's like I can't. It's wild that he's going no reserve, but this will go to a new home at the end of the auction, which I'm very excited about. And if you're looking for a crazy 130, I think this is the first LS3 V8 swap done that we've offered on the site, and it's just a special one. This is a really special, fun, ridiculous truck.
It is the coolest of the Defender body styles because you still have the 4 seats, and then you have a bed. And with an L3 V8 and a bunch of other updates, right? Like
tons. The list of modifications
this is so cool.
Long.
I'm a little jealous you got to drive it.
It was fun. It's not a U vehicle at all, but it was hilarious. I enjoyed it. But let's switch to something I actually could see you using. You're a practical man.
Once again, I'm not cool enough, but I really wish I were. So this is an R63 AMG. Are you familiar with the R63 AMG?
Of course.
Can you describe it to the people?
Yes. So Mercedes-Benz took their practical van that they were making, which again, not really sure why they decided to make it at all. Nope. And then like, we will put the 6.2 liter V8 in it and we'll give it a lot of power. Why not go fast and carry your family around? And so that's exactly what they did. And they did not sell many of these. They're ridiculously rare cars, but this one has some modifications to it to give it some extra.
Great modifications.
Yeah, so it's got some tuning and then some. It does have the upgraded cylinder head bolts, which is a huge deal, especially on the 6.2 V8.
Yeah.
But it's
just
cool.
Okay, AMG cars. There is a ranking of which AMGs are coolest. For example, E63 sedans, cool. E63 wagons, cooler. R63, the coolest.
Yeah,
there's actually nothing above it in like late 2000s AMG world. This is the coolest one. You're gonna say like the S65 AMG or the G65? No,
that's not cooler to me.
The R63 is the coolest, and this has an additional 120 horsepower over stock, an additional 90 pound-feet of torque because. You know what you needed in your Mercedes minivan.
Your 6.2 liter V8.
You needed more horsepower and torque. So it has 623 horsepower, 552 pound-feet of torque, according to YSEC.
Wow.
And great mods. Also, the wheels look great. I think they're big. They're custom ones, but they're monoblock replicas.
It's a Mercedes-Benz fan dream vehicle.
It is. You show up anywhere in this, you win.
Yep.
You show up at Cars and Coffee, you win.
Yeah.
There could be an F50 there, and you would be like,
real people who it's deep. If you know, you know. There's an R63 in my hometown that I saw with regularity. Someone took their kids to school in. It was wild. I lost my mind every time I saw it, and yeah, these cars are just so unusual. So if ever there were proof that the Germans have a sense of humor.
Yep.
It's the R63.
I'll also note these come up on the market really rarely. I think we've auctioned 3 or 4 ever. And this has way lower miles than most of the other ones that we've seen. And way better service history, way more documentation. It's quite something. I'm incredibly excited that's on the site.
And if you're in the market, they don't come up very often, like you said. So go check it out. It's really cool.
And if you buy this and the V60 Polestar, you will be my hero.
Filippo's practicality performance hero.
7-seater, 5-seater wagon, you know?
Yep. And now in the traditional cars and bids fashion, I'm going to mention the E39 M5. Now, I mentioned last week that S2, which we'll check on here in just a second.
Yeah.
Or the S3. This one is an S2. So the difference is that this one does not have the supercharger, but it got a lot of really important upgrades. It got the headers from Dynan, which are carb certified and add substantial power to this car.
And this car is, in fact, California type.
Yep, 481 horsepower is what it brings it up to, which is pretty significant from 394.
Yep.
But it also got a tighter rear differential, upgraded suspension, Dynan springs and Koni shocks. It got a bunch of upgrades. And it's basically, if you're looking for the naturally aspirated build, this is it.
You said going on camera that it was your ideal M5.
Yeah, for me, because I'm an NA guy. I like NA engines.
North America only.
Yeah, right. And so, right, North America only. Thank you. I'm a naturally aspirated man. This is the kind of car I really like. Dynan S2s to me are just incredibly desirable and very cool. And this also, the Dynan S3s all got the Dynan wheels, which personally I think the Style 65s are the best wheels BMW ever made, or at least in the top 5. And this car retains them. You could get the Dynan wheels still, but this one has its Style 65s. A nice car, also California owned, which is great, and in a very desirable color combination, carbon black with the black full leather heritage interior, which looks lovely. And yeah, this is just this seems like a very clean E39 M5, and S2s don't come up for sale. The S3 is rarer, but the S2s don't come up for sale very often either. It's kind of a holy grail car also.
It's a very cool M5.
It is.
And I've just learned a ton about
and I deeply
the different variants.
Boom! Look at that. Speaking of Dynan, so the S3 sold for $117,500. Big number, but a very, very special car. I'm going to congratulate whoever. Wow, XYZ. That was the user who won this one. Good for him. He battled it out. But man, what a special car, and I'm just so thrilled that we got to transact something as special as that. Most expensive E39 M5 we've ever sold.
And I think the second highest Dyna S3 result publicly available ever.
Yeah.
And the highest had a third the miles, quarter the miles, something like
that. Yeah.
By the way, that auction was scheduled to end at 10:42 a.m. Pacific time. It ended at 11:24.
Oh, well. That's what happens when you have a desirable car and a couple people who want it. And if you are someone who wants to own a very cool enthusiast car, head to carsandbids.com where you can check out our wide selection. Thank you all so much for watching, and we will talk to you very soon. Goodbye.